want Indians to go back? Then who's going to run your Google and your Microsoft? Why don't Indians go back to that shitty India? We don't need you guys. You need us, bro. You need us. You want Indians to go back? Then who's going to run your Google and your Microsoft? Do you want Sundar Pichai and Satya Nadella to leave as well? Do you also want your boss to go back? Because I'm sure they are Indian as well. And if your boss isn't Indian, I'm sure the CEO of your company is. And if we all leave, who's going to run your tech industry? We literally run your country's economy. You need us, silly beans. You need us. Just say thank you and enjoy your chicken tikka masala.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So credit goes to the original creators, and this video is for commentary and educational purposes only. Okay. So Trump and his policies around H-1B visas have sparked a storm, right? Companies now face a $100,000 penalty if they employ certain immigrants, right? Meaning a lot of folks can't go to work in the US anymore, right? And it's a huge hit to people's lives, careers. But let me not over-explain. Watch the clips and we'll come back for some commentary.
Indians working in the US have gotten the biggest shock of their lives. But it may work out to be very well for India, and I'll explain exactly what is happening. So yesterday, President Trump mentioned that any American company hiring foreign workers on H-1B visa will have to pay $100,000 every year to the US government in the form of a fee. Which means every Indian who will be hired by an American company, well, that company in the US will have to pay 88 lakh rupees, not one time, but every single year. Now, this means that practically all the Indians working in the US and are not already US citizens may have to come back. Because right now, this is a presidential order, and whether it's going to sustain in the US Congress or not, we can't really say. But imagine it does. I'll tell you what will happen. For example, when I speak with the administration at B schools in India like ISB as well as IIMA, the administration is really happy because right now, the kind of applicants they're getting to these colleges for the MBA program are absolutely phenomenal. Because, 35% of the Indians who would apply to the US every year in search for better MBA are now not applying, and all these people are now studying in India. Similarly, now the best of talent from the world is going to come back to India because companies may not want to hire them in the US. And over the next 5 to 7 years, I would predict that a lot of global companies would then begin to bring investments into India, start setting up companies into India, and quite like how China grew over the past 2 decades on the back of their fabulous talent, which built massive tech companies inside of China which are now going global. The same journey may actually happen for India over the next 1 decade, because 71% of the H-1B applicants are actually Indians and only 12% are Chinese, which is why, while it is really painful for people who have family members in the US working right now in the short term, in the long term, it may be a fabulous golden opportunity for
the H-1B holders or the immigrants like me, mostly from India. They are panicking. Oh my God, $100,000 is so much money. Yeah. These motherfuckers on H-1B are not getting paid $30,000, $40,000 a year, guys. These H-1B workers are making from $150,000 a year to up to $500,000 a year if they're employed by an employer. Not small amount. I don't know why they're crying, because they can pay the $100,000 very easily if you can make them money. But they are very quick to buy big homes in Texas, big mansions. It's called a show off. It's a status. In India, it's a big thing. Oh yeah, I went to America on the visa and I got a bigger home. Yes, on loan. Everything is on loan. My big mansion, my big car, BMW, Mercedes-Benz. Yes, this is the reality. But let me show you the other reality on the other side. You see, these same immigrants, I never came on H-1B, so I have the right to speak on this. H-1B workers are the rude, arrogant. They think they own fucking shit when they come here. Okay? Most of them, the H-1B workers, are being employed by American employers who don't hire the American people, or if they do hire, they fire them right after they get the H-1B workers here and get trained by the American citizens, and then they fire the American citizens. Why? Because they just can't bring somebody from India or like me and say, okay, do the job. How are they gonna know? No, you have to get trained first. Who's training them? The American people. So once they get trained, they get laid off, then they are unemployed, and they have to then find a different job. But let me tell you the reality. The immigrants who come here on H-1B work permit or visa, some of them come on scholarships, some of them come on student visas. They get the scholarships from the universities or whatever it is. But when an American citizen like me or you apply for a loan or scholarship, what do they ask you? They ask you for your tax returns. They ask you how much money you're making. And the moment you say, oh, I'm making $6,000 a year and I have a family of 4 or 5, they say, oh, you don't qualify for scholarship. But the immigrant on the other side who is living in India or China or Africa, he says, oh, I'm a poor guy. I don't have nothing. I am sleeping on the floor. I don't have a home. But nobody checks if he has a home. Nobody checks if he has a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW. But he gets the scholarship. He comes over here, finishes his education. Then he here is making $1 million a year. On whose money? Taxpayers' money. But does he later on come out and say, oh, thank you, America, thank you, American citizen, for your tax paying and for funding my education? No, you never hear. Now see, if somebody would have paid for my education, I would have said thank you. But no, I paid for my own money with my own money and I'm here. But you never hear an immigrant who got free scholarship, free loans and free education, never from their mouth say, thank you, America. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If I'm right, tell me I'm right in the comments.
Among Asian Americans, let's do as you suggest for Indians. We will compare the number of Indian H-1B visa holders to the total population of Indians in the United States. I know this is really hard to see, but if you don't want to take my word for it, you can find this information on the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services website. In 2019, Indians accounted for 74.5% of H-1B visas. On that same website, this provides information about the estimated number of H-1B beneficiaries in the United States. There's a range in 2019, so to tilt the number in your favor, let's take the lowest number, which is 619,327. So 74.5% of the 619,327 H-1B beneficiaries means approximately 461,398 are Indian. And at that time, there were an estimated 4 million Indians in the United States, which means that 11.5% of Indians in the United States in 2019 were H-1B beneficiaries. But that 4 million includes all Indians in the United States, not just working age. So that's children, working age, and retired. So to find the number of households who have an H-1B beneficiary, I divided by 3.13% because that's the average size of the United States household. So 36% of Indian households have an H-1B visa recipient. The other thing about H-1B visas is they are non-immigrant, but they are dual intention, which means an H-1B visa is a path to applying for a green card and receiving citizenship. So there's no knowing how many more Indian households include working family members who had an H-1B visa but now have green cards or are now citizens. So it would be even higher. But 36% is not null. That is, in fact, more significant than I thought it would be.
The captain speaking, due to the current circumstances, obviously, that are unprecedented for us here at Emirates, we are aware that a number of passengers do not wish to travel with us, and that's perfectly fine. And all we ask is that if you wish to offload yourself,
So that was an Emirates flight from the United States to India. And as you can see in that video, that was the moment people found out that Trump's new H-1B visa rule has gone into effect. And if they leave the country, they're not going to be able to come back in the country. So people started deboarding. They started because, yeah, H-1B people who are in America right now cannot leave America. The ones outside, if they want to come in, it's going to cost them $100,000.
Right now, the U.S. is a car that's been fleeced. The wheels got stolen. They took the copper wire out. The radio's gone. The windows are broken, and it's sitting on bricks in somebody's yard, and he's trying to charge you $1 million to sit in the seat. If you haven't seen, a couple of things were announced yesterday as far as immigration goes. One being the Trump Gold Card, where someone can pay $1 million to basically skip all the difficulties of the U.S. citizenship process, and then also also when it comes to H-1B visas, which are the kind of visas you get, a lot of people in tech companies have them where your employer and your work can get you a work visa in this country. They are going to be charged $100,000, I believe, per applicant, your company, if they want to get people to have H-1B visas. This policy is actually fucking insane. In the future, if this country still exists, this is going to be one of those policies that they put in the history books as like actual landmark fucking disaster. Like the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. It's genuinely nuts. $100,000 is just an arbitrary deterrent number. It's just a number so big that it's not worth paying. That's higher than many people who are here on H-1B visas salaries in the first place. Thing number one is that this is going to fucking, in the immediacy, tank the fucking market. It's just going to cause a bunch of companies to panic because they're going to have to suddenly reshift their entire like job structure, right? Thing number two is that they're just going to outsource these jobs. We don't suddenly have a lot more labor, but if you can't pull from a world market for your workplace, places like tech companies that use this a lot, you're just going to hire people outside of the company. It's going to be cheaper to set up offices outside of the United States than it is to hire people and have them come here. It seems like people forget that like when you hire someone and you pull them here on a visa, they pay taxes. That is money for us. That is money for our country. It will now be cheaper to just have a foreign office and management team that you Zoom call into than it is to hire people and have them come work in an office here. Like, this is the most, it is genuinely a policy decision that only benefits you if you're racist. Because like 70% of H-1B visas are held by Indian people. This policy decision is the equivalent of going, hey, we're gonna cut your paycheck in half. And I know that doesn't sound great, but by cutting your paycheck in half, an Indian person doesn't get a paycheck. Aren't you happy? America's great again, folks. We're winning. We're winning.
All I got to say to India is y'all fucked around and found out. Did y'all forget about this picture right here? I'm sure 47 didn't. You think he gives a damn about your humanitarian fallout? This man literally watched Bibi Netanyahu destroy Gaza and say, y'all ain't done yet? So as far as those H-1B visas, y'all just gonna have to figure that shit out.
The big fallacy is that people hire internationally because it's cheaper to hire immigrants to fill that. No, not for an H-1B visa. That's not why it's the same as us in the film industry doing O-1 visas. You hire because they have a specific special expertise that you need. It is more expensive for me to have to pay $15,000 in legal fees to get the visa. Then I have to fly them back and forth, not just once, because they're not going to come here for a year and never go back. Their contract is going to call for me to send them back and forth regularly.
And it's business class.
And they're generally flying business class. Very often when you have those visa holders over here, you're paying for their housing too. It's way more expensive to hire the H-1B visa holders. You're not hiring them. Like if I could hire an American for, $150,000 to do the job, they would. It is very common for big companies to say, great, I'm going to import this guy who's the foremost expert in the world on petroleum nuclides. I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm going to bring them over here and they're going to train all of my people. I would rather have just one of them to train my 50 people. I'm not going to have, if it was cheaper to hire them, I'd have 50 of them instead of training people here. Yeah. But they're way more expensive. It's going to bring in millions of dollars, billions of dollars to the government. If every one of those, think about Amazon alone, 10,000 H-1B visa holders times $100,000 a piece. How much does that bring in? Well, here's how much it's going to bring in: a short period of a burst of money, just like the tariffs. But the long-term implications are going to be devastating because maybe it's cheaper for Amazon to move a plant over there. And all of that work that those people were training other people to do here, now it just leaves the country. This is what happens when you have a group of financially illiterate people making decisions. They make short-term decisions that bring the cash in today. Then when the country realizes you completely effed us and vote you out of office, somebody else comes in to try and fix it, and you point fingers at them and go, oh, well, it was working great when I was there. No, it wasn't.
I'm like really confused because does Trump think everybody has like $100,000 just sitting there? I think Trump is so rich, he thinks $100,000 is easy to make. Like, I think he thinks it's easy to make $100,000. Like, That's a lot of money for just a visa for 1 year. 1 year for these people don't even make that much money. Like, okay, maybe the max the engineer makes is maybe 250, like 500 if you're like, I don't know, like a senior. They don't make that kind of money to be, that's like $100,000 tax on top of what you make. And they already pay taxes. That's crazy. And what's worse is that Americans don't even know that most of our specialty is from outside, like doctors, surgeons, engineers. All the special things we have in America is because international doctors and engineers are coming in from all other countries. H1B is like, I don't know, is $100,000 is a lot for them. Okay, maybe surgeons could make like good money, but even then, $100,000 is like a tax on top of tax. This is so crazy to me. That number is too high for even somebody who makes good money. You know what I mean? It's almost like they don't want people here at all with specialties. That's even more confusing, because what's the plan then if you don't want educated people here? Like, what's the plan, you know?
So I just woke up and I opened Twitter. Biggest mistake. I haven't looked at Twitter in ages, and I was like, you know what? I want to see what the news is. Like, the trending page on Twitter used to be like my source of news, which is really, really, really sad to say, but you know, I fell into that hole and it took a long time for me to get out of it. I was finally out of it, and now I fell into it again this morning out of every other time I could have done that. So I opened Twitter and I went into the trending page, and of course, hashtag Indians was trending. I click on it and holy fucking shit, Twitter is an absolute breeding ground for racism right now. After everything that went down with the US H-1B visas recently, that sparked a huge conversation. More so a rant, because since when are people so fucking brave? Because the memes that you see on there, crazy racist. And I thought TikTok and Instagram were extremely racist against Indians. And I even got on here and cried looking at all of that. Because I'm this little Indian girl, right? Like I'm like the perfect target to then like come back at with the same racism I was crying about on here. That's like the first biggest mistake I made. Wow. Y'all are really, really, really fucking brave on Twitter. I would love to know down the road how all of this comes back to bite you in the ass. I would love to know. I don't know, it's one thing to hate a race and then keep it to yourself. But as soon as the news came out, and now it's like, oh, so many Indians have to go back to India now. They've been summoned. They're all out hanging out on Twitter, saying the worst possible shit against an entire country and an entire race. I just realized I've been calling it Twitter this whole time. X. That app never fails to surprise me. Never. Disappointed.
Honestly, this feels like another one of those FAFO moments, right? Some Indians openly supported Trump, thinking that they would benefit, but now they're realizing that the system doesn't even favor them at all, either, right? Anyways, still there's this twist, right? A lot of Indians are saying that this could actually benefit their own country, because talent that would have left for the US can actually now, stay back and try to strengthen India's economy instead, right? Ripple effects everywhere. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think that this will end up being good for India long term? I mean, that's what I think, but I'm curious about your take. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as usual, I'll see you on my next one.